morning, everybody. It's the Good Morning Show. I'm Chris, your host, and we are here to give some news out today. Most of it's going to be on the park reopening, and there's lots of people there live streaming in the park, so I can understand if I'm not going to get a lot of people in here. So let's go ahead and get on to it. So what do we have? All right, so we got Walt Disney World reportedly restricting use of gators as face coverings, face masks with ear loops enforced per resort-wide requirement. This comes from WDW News Today. Says, ahead of the Walt Disney World Park reopening to the public, the resort has begun to enforce its rules that guests wear traditional face masks. Previously, neck gaiters, though not secured with ties or ear loops, as the guideline states, had been tolerated. Theme Park Shark on Twitter is reporting that they are no longer being allowed, with guests being asked to wear a traditional face mask. The WDW NT reporter has confirmed that their neck gaiter had been allowed at the Magic Kingdom preview yesterday, so while the guidelines itself isn't new, the enforcement of it is. At this time, it's unknown how these restrictions will apply to gators with ear loops. Below are the official face mask rules from Walt Disney World resorts. All face mask coverings should fully cover an individual's nose and mouth and allow the guest to remain hands-free. Fit snugly but comfortably around the side of the face. Be secured with ties or ear loops. Be made of breathable material, either disposable or reusable. Costume masks are not considered appropriate and are prohibited from being worn in alignment with our existing rules. As we approach annual pass holder reopening previews and the official theme park reopening, we will continue to monitor the status of face mask requirements and guidelines. So I would say if your gator has ear loops, because I have seen them, I know I have seen the Tim Tracker wearing one, I would say that that's fine. It just has to have ear loops or ties. So I'm going to say they're probably going to allow that. All right, let's get on next. All right. All right, here we go. This comes from, didn't really say, KennyThePirate.com. That's a new one. Fingerprint scanners removed and calming reopening concerns. As the Disney parks welcome cast members and guests to both Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom yesterday, many Disney guests are anxiously anticipating the reopening of the Disney parks this weekend. However, many Disney fans are still hesitant to travel to the most magical place on Earth as the COVID-19 cases continue to rise in Florida. We share an interview from Josh D'Amaro as he shares his thoughts in the Disney company's resolve to return to the magic while maintaining strict health and safety guidelines throughout the Disney parks. Rising COVID-19 cases. This week we shared that in a press conference with Florida Governor DeSantis that although Florida's COVID-19 cases continue to rise, he doesn't consider the reopening of Walt Disney World to be a problem. He stated that Universal Orlando is doing a great job with safety precautions. Disney's plans are also sound. All right. So governor believes that it's going to be that everything's going to be fine, and so they removed the scanners. Yeah, there's more on that. I didn't see anything. Hold on, let me find it. I guess that's it. They just removed the scanners. So I did see that yesterday while watching some of the cast member previews. See anything else? Where further? Okay, here we go. This is actually... Hold on. I'm going to show this, hopefully. All right, so this is the commercial for Disney's reopening. So let me get this set up for you just real quick. A little too big. I can do that real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to take this long. Allow you to do that, but they don't. All right, so I'm gonna pull it up. Real quick. That. That. This is the reopening commercial. So everything looks like it's going
as you're walking.
Sorry. Pull that down. So yeah, it looks amazing. The video really looks great, the commercial for the reopening. But speaking of that, give me 1 second, please. Speaking of that, Fox 35 has an article, and they also did some stuff on this, but I want to show you the article real quick. Let me bring that up real quick. It's make this big so you can see it. All right, so they show them using the temperature scanners, and here they are, obviously, but I don't think they'll be, I guess they're not using the fingerprint. This shows them. I seen them yesterday where they had those covered up, so maybe they're doing something else, or they're in the works. And then, of course, got the hand washing stations. And there's the guests wearing masks. Of course, them showing the cast members cleaning everything. Then, of course, people waiting 6 feet from each other in line. More on the 6 feet, showing guests on the ride with their masks on. Now this one right here, I don't know if you know this, but this is at Small World. It's showing the hand sanitization. And this little blonde right here, little blonde, is Heaven from our channel. There she is, standing there. She's getting ready to help guests get on Small World. But yeah, that's Heaven right there. So we will go on through once again, showing 6 feet apart, showing them on Small World with masks and how they've separated them. So, but yeah, so I thought that was neat that Heaven was actually in the Fox 35 news article. So let's get back to it. So yeah, so she's was actually in the news article. That was really neat. I really thought that was something neat. So let's get back to some more stuff. Let's see. Okay, so here we got something. I hope this is just came in long ago. All right. So this is Disney World resuming 2020 park ticket sales, hotel bookings Thursday. This is on NBC2 Wish down there in Orlando, I'm guessing. So Walt Disney World announced will be resuming ticket sales for their theme park and hotel starting on Thursday. That's today. Previously, Disney said they put 2020 ticket sales on pause to help those who already had tickets and annual pass holder plan visits with the new theme park reservation system. Starting Thursday, guests will be once again able to purchase new tickets and make hotel bookings for 2020. Guests will also have to use the new park pass system that Walt Disney World made to help manage attendance while reopening during the pandemic. According to Disney's official blog page, ticket and hotel booking may be released at different times throughout the day. Guests will be sent to virtual waiting rooms to manage the high volume of people looking to make plans. Guests will need a valid admission and a reservation to enter each park. Magic Kingdom and Disney Animal Kingdom are slated to open on July 11th, while Disney's Hollywood Studios and Epcot will open on July 15th. So today you are able to start purchasing tickets and make reservations at hotels. So that's some good news. I'm going to look down real quick, see if we got anything else. Looks like just some comments, coverages, all on the park reopening. So if you did not watch, Gonzo and VP were in a park. I thought they did a really good job yesterday during cast member previews. So let's go ahead and let's see what else we got. Let's see. I've seen some stuff. Here we go. Comes from Screen Rants. Mandalorian, the one Yoda thing that Baby Yoda shouldn't have. Child is constantly compared to Yoda, considering they're from the same species, but the Mandalorian shouldn't share one specific trait. Here is one trait of Yoda's that Baby Yoda shouldn't acquire in The Mandalorian. The young figure, officially referred to as the child, rose to popularity from the first moment he appeared in Disney Plus series set in the Star Wars universe. Much is still left unknown about the foundling, except that he's the same species as Yoda, another beloved Star Wars figure. Baby Yoda made his debut in the Mandalorian when bounty hunter Din Djarin was hired to retrieve a 50-year-old asset for members of the Imperials. Din discovered target was an infant. He delivered it to Imperial Remnants facilities before quickly reneging the deal. Din then took Baby Yoda to the outskirts of the galaxy to keep him safe. In time, Din realized how special the foundling truly was, vowing to discover the infant's origin before returning it to its kind. Aside from their physical traits, the only similarity between Yoda and the child is that they were both portrayed as being force sensitive, whereas Yoda was highly skilled in his force abilities. Baby Yoda is just starting to scratch the surface with his powers. The only other member of Yoda's mysterious species, Yaddle, was also force sensitive, which suggests it's a commonality among alien species. Baby Yoda has yet to talk and instead coos like a human child. When he does learn to talk, he shouldn't share Yoda's distinctive speech patterns. The character is known for rearranging words in his sentences so they fit the order of object, subject, verb. This characteristic should be unique to Yoda and Yoda alone. Yoda's speech pattern is his defining trait. Yoda's odd yet entertaining speech patterning is a definite trait of the Star Wars character. This detail in his creation helped make Yoda an iconic figure. Sorry, I got an itch. In not just the franchise, but also to pop culture as a whole. In many ways, Yoda's way of speaking has become a symbol of wisdom. Sure, the 900-year of existence made him one of the wisest figures of the galaxy, but the way he spoke during his Star Wars arc gave him an extra sense of authority. Yaddle, on the other hand, was known for her quietness, suggesting that the speech pattern isn't necessarily a trait of the species. So, basically, and I love Star Wars and I've watched Star Wars a lot, and the way Yoda speaks isn't his. From what I understand, there's very little to know about Yoda species, but there has been members from the same species Yoda comes from that talk like normally. So I'm wondering if maybe this is like a trait from where Yoda comes from, and that's where it's picked up from, where maybe depending on where Yoda comes from, it probably has a lot to do with where they finally learn to speak. And just like here, we have different languages and different accents, different places. So I believe that maybe that's why the child or baby Yoda probably will speak differently than what Yoda does, and that would make sense to me. So I mean, because if he learns how to speak, he would actually be learning from Mando himself. All right, what else do we have? Something on here. Okay, so we got something from Marvel. Okay, this comes from Inverse. In-game Easter egg may tease an iconic comic crossover for Avengers 5. Avengers Endgame saw the world's mightiest heroes at their lowest point, with the universe population abruptly cut in half by Thanos and his Infinity Gauntlet. The Avengers had to get creative to undo the devastating damage. As it turns out, in-game director Anthony and Joe Russo may have been laying the foundation storyline for Avengers 5 all along. Reddit users Waffles Please recently shared 2 images of the Hulk, suggesting a link to the comic that's largely flown under the radar since the movie's debut. The first was of Smart Hulk holding up the wreckage of Avengers headquarters, keep it from collapsing in Endgame. The second photo is of comic book Hulk holding up a mountain with all his strength. Take a look below. All right, so yeah. To the untrained eye, this is just Hulk holding up something heavy, which he called upon due to fairly often, given his unparalleled strength. The comparisons become far more striking when you take a closer look at the Marvel 1985 Secret Wars #4 cover. Secret Wars was the big deal for the Marvel back in the 1980s. The massive crossover event saw the collision of multiple universes, timelines, and characters. The storyline was later updated in 2015 with small differences that had a dramatic impact on the future of the Marvel's heroes. Secret Wars #4 included a storyline that left Avengers HQ in ruins. However, unlike in Endgame, comics saw an entire mountain being dropped on top of the Avengers. Hulk is faced with the nearly impossible task of holding it up, while Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four uses the formidable scientific knowledge to blow a giant hole in its side to escape. We know the Russos are big fans of the Secret Wars storyline. Back at Los Angeles screening of Infinity Wars in 2018, the brothers said they'd only return to the MCU if they could direct a Secret Wars movie. Such an obvious Easter egg in Endgame likely isn't a coincidence, where the director hints that Secret Wars might be looming in the Avengers' future. Of course, the shot of Hulk may have been a simple nod to the iconic Marvel event. However, Secret Wars has been speculated to be central to the next Avengers film. What's more, an Easter egg in Spider-Man Far From Home also stands out as a possible Secret Wars clue, which could also pave the way for the introduction of the X-Men and Fantastic Four into the MCU. There are a lot of possibilities here. Endgame, touted as Russo final MCU movie, but it's hard to imagine that they won't be tempted back by Disney Marvel Studios at some point. Historically, they've been called upon to direct the bigger MCU like Infinity War and Captain America Civil War, all of which included game-changing storylines and a multitude of characters from across the MCU. A Secret Wars movie sounds right up the Russo's alley, especially given that Endgame will be several years in the review at that point. So Secret Wars was a big thing, and it would be great to see that actually brought to big screen. I would love to see Secret Wars how they would do it. All right, so here we have, this comes from Digital Spy. Also, this has to do with Marvel. Avengers Endgame director offers Marvel advice on recasting Wolverine. As Marvel Studios seeks to recast the role of Wolverine, Avengers Endgame co-director Joe Russo has shared some advice. Hugh Jackman immortalized the character on the big screen over a period of 17 years, starting 2 decades ago with X-Men and bowing out in 2017 Logan. So these are some huge shoes to fill. In conversation with Comic Book Movie, Russo explained, Wolverine was always one of my favorite characters. Incredible Hulk number 181 was one of the first comic books that I remember collecting, which was the first appearance of Wolverine. Hugh Jackman has done an incredible job with that character over the years, and I think they should take a break for a little while before someone else takes a crack at it. If anything, it would be a sign of respect for Jackman's work if the studio was to wait it out, and there's plenty of other superheroes to be getting with in the meantime. Back in April, the Australian actor admitted he knew it was the right time to hang up his anti-anthem clause in director James Mangold's Logan. It was the right time for me to leave the party, not just for me, but for the character, he explains. Somebody else will pick up and run with it. It's too good of a character not to. So, the recasting for Logan or Wolverine. I've actually seen some stuff on what people think that should be taking that place. I think there's been some really good ideas out there. It's been a while since I watched it, so I didn't really know the actors, but they did show some stuff on them, and a lot of them did look really good for it. Of course, you want somebody who's got that gruff and that voice. All right, let's see. Read that one down. Oh, here we go. Comic-Con at Home announces Wednesday's schedule. So, sounds like we're all going to be able to go to Comic-Con. All right, Variety. This is coming from Variety. This year's virtual Comic-Con Home has announced its schedule for Wednesday, July 22nd. The details are below. The virtual event replaces the annual San Diego Comic-Con, the largest fan convention in North America, which was to be held July 22nd to 26th at the San Diego Convention Center until the COVID-19 pandemic forced its cancellation. In June, Comic-Con International, the nonprofit organization that oversees San Diego Comic-Con and its sisters events, WonderCon in Anaheim, California, announced it was moving forward with the virtual event on the same date. This time, however, the event is free and open to all. Wednesday has traditionally been the lightest day at Comic-Con with a small numbers of panels and a preview of the conventional hall floor and the Spirit along with the listed panels. On July 22nd, Comic-Con Home will debut its online exhibit hall, an interactive recreation of the massive Comic-Con convention floor filled with both major marquee exhibitors like Marvel, Lucasfilm, Limited, Hasbro, and Warner Brothers, and DC Comics, and independent comic publishers and artists. So, that sounds very interesting. I might have to check that out. I'd like to see that. I've never been to a Comic-Con. I would like to go. I think it would be really neat to see. But here we go. This is from some Walt Disney World news, but it's coming from Hollywood Studios. This comes from InsideTheMagic.com. Changes coming to Oga's Cantina at Galaxy's Edge. Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida, is set to begin its phased reopening of the theme park on July 11th with the Magic Kingdom and Disney Animal Kingdom. Guests who managed to snag reservations for opening weekend are beginning to wonder what changes may await them when they arrive. In addition to the new social distancing measures and mandatory face masks, Disney dining is looking much different upon reopening. Recently, the official Disney World website was up to date, including information about Oga's Cantina, located in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Although Oga's Cantina will still be reopening with the rest of Disney Hollywood, including Galaxy's Edge on July 15th, guests are being asked to please note that this experience will be modified. Walt Disney World officials have not yet stated what the changes to dining at Oga's Cantina will consist of, but there are certain steps that are likely to be taken. We've outlined them here, and we'll share updates when more confirmed information from Disney. All right, physical distancing measures. Prior to the Disney parks closure, parties at Oga's Cantinas were often seated together at large tables. To enforce Disney's mandate social distancing measures, it is likely that tables will be limited to one party. Because seating is extremely limited in the Oga's Cantina establishment, this may mean that capacity will be even more limited than usual. Closing the bar area. Due to the fact that there are very few tables in Oga's Cantina, many patrons of the Intergalactic Bar chose to stand at the center bar area before the temporary closure. Again, to encourage adherence to physical distancing protocols, Disney is likely to either close the bar area or at least strictly limit the number of guests allowed at the bar and implement strict physical distancing. This will prevent mingling between guests from different parties, potentially propagating the spread of the virus. Batuvian cocktails and appetizers will probably be delivered to each party by a server as part of the modified Oga's experience. New signage. Disney's parks officially have already added new signage regarding safety protocols such as mandatory face coverings throughout the Disney World theme parks. In all likelihood, there will be new signs directing Oga Cantina patrons throughout the bar. This is a simple step that will help Disney cast members enforce new health and safety measures that are designed to protect everyone during the Hollywood Studios reopening process. Even though you won't see Han Solo at Oga's, it's still a must-visit bar for any Star Wars fan. Don't let this modified experience deter you from visiting next time you're craving a drink in the Star Wars land. So yeah, so Oga's Cantina is going to open up. It is probably going to be different. So hopefully as things move on and start to look up, things will start to get better as it goes. All right, let's see here. It comes from Reader's Digest. Meet the chefs behind Disney World's most iconic dishes. A lot of thought went into the meals you're about to devour. Designing a menu Disney style. When it comes to food, there's certainly no shortage of it at Walt Disney World with 4 theme parks, dozens of resort hotels, and a shopping and dining district. Here are tons of options for every traveler and every taste buds, including these 10 new foods you have to try when visiting Disney. But someone, or more accurately, a team of someones, has to come up with the individual items at each of the 100 of dinings and drinking locations. That task falls Hey, good morning, Myers and the Mouse. Thanks for coming in, Mama Mouse. That task falls to the concept development team. We sat down with the chef, Brian Pizaski, Walt Disney World's concept development culinary director, and Janice Clayla, the beverage sales and standard manage for concept development, to find out exactly how they work their magic and put smile on diners' faces at the happiest place on earth. All right. Disneyland's the happiest place on earth. Walt Disney World is the most magical place on earth. Keep in mind that some protocols may change due to the pandemic, but this is the general way that dishes and dining are approached. While waiting for the parks to reopen, here are 12 Disney recipes to recreate at home. All right. Who are the chefs? Let's get down here. Recipe. There's all work done. So it looks like, okay. Yeah, they're not naming them. Showing pictures and telling you what to try. So I'll just name off some of the foods that they're talking about. All right, so they have rigatoni from Topoloni Terrace and Disney's Riviera Resort is one. Drinks from Oga's Cantina at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, which I've had the drinks there. They're very good, especially the fuzzy tauntaun. Endorian fried chicken, Yip Yip from Docking Bay 7, food and cargo inside Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Durabot shrimp and noodle salad from Docking Bay 7, food and cargo inside Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Well, a lot of them are coming from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Another one, blue and green milk from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Ooh, zombie head souvenir cups from the Trader Sam's Grotto. Oh, we're just looking through. But yeah, they're looking at a lot of different things, and I'm sure they're going to tell you different stuff, what to see. So that was something good. All right. So here's something from Marvel. All right. This comes from Showbiz Cheat Sheet. Tom Holland proved he deserves to wear the Spider-Man suit with one heartbreaking scene. Tom Holland, I don't feel so good moment in Avengers Infinity War became indelibly quickly. Stories have circulated endless about how the young actor improvised part of the dialogue, making the scene that much more impactful. Watching Spider-Man fade to dust was painful enough, and seeing him be genuinely afraid made for one of the most wrenching scenes in all of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, fans say there was another moment in Spider-Man Homecoming that doesn't get talked up as much, but it's just as worthy of the discussion, the scene where Peter Parker got buried. Scene in question comes late in the film when Peter confronts the Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, as Michael Keaton, a task already made difficult by the fact that the Vulture is the father of Liz, the girl Peter Parker dated before he hooked up with MJ, played by Zendaya. Vulture flies around the building, causing it to collapse on top of Spider-Man. Peter doesn't just stoically take the hit, he's crying because he's buried under a ton of rubble. It's the scene where you're really hit with the realization that this is just a child and way over his head. The panic and fear in his voice is actually quite chilling how real it is. The fan wrote on Reddit, it's one of the reasons I think Homecoming is just is such an important stepping stone in Pete's journey and becoming Spider-Man and coming to terms with its own limits while always striving to rise above them. Another fan pointed out Holland pulls off a similar feat of acting in the second standalone movie, Far From Home, when Mysterio gets the better of him and he's haunted by an image of Iron Man rising out of his grave. Not only do we get a variation of the burying theme, but we again are reminded that for all his skills and power, Peter Parker remains a vulnerable teenager. So yeah, that's true. Just so happens the bearing scene was inspired by the moment from the comic by writer Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko, Spider-Man's original creator. The scene was an homage to Amazing Spider-Man number 33, which came out in 1963. The scene plays differently, partly because... So yeah, to me, I know people will disagree with me, but I believe Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man as of yet. I know you're thinking, well, might be kind of biased because he's Spider-Man right now. But no, I really do believe that Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man. I'm not saying Tobey Maguire was bad. I'm not saying Andrew Garfield was bad. They were good. I just think Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man fits the character better than what the other two did. Let's go on. I did have some other stuff down here. Oh. All right. So I think this is going to be, I know it's short, but there's a lot going on at the park right now and stuff like that. But one thing, and this comes from BuzzFeed. One last thing. 19 Disney behind the scene facts that'll make heartbreaking moments even more memorable. So get ready. One of the reasons the early movies like Bambi included a parent's death was because Disney films were all about growing up. So it forced the main characters to do exactly that. Executive producer Don Hahn explained, saying the movies are 80 or 90 minutes long and Disney films are about growing up. They're about that day in your life when you have to accept responsibilities. When writing Mufasa's tragic death in The Lion King, the entire idea was built upon making Mufasa the greatest father that ever lived and then having kill him. The writing team searched for the perfect sweet spot of the emotion. Screenwriter Linda Wolverton recalled watching the movie with her daughter at the premiere and realizing how emotionally the moment was for a younger viewer when her daughter started weeping and said, "How could you?" In Frozen 2, the song The Next Right Thing is based on a mantra that Christine Bell uses in her everyday life, and it has helped her deal with her own anxiety and depression. In the Disney Plus documentary Into the Unknown, Making Frozen 2, Kristen explained it really is for anyone who is feeling low and struggling and does not know what to do, because the only thing you can do at those lowest moments is one step at a time. In fact, writer, director Jennifer Lee and Kristen recorded an emotional discussion they had about this mantra and sent it to songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez as inspiration for the song. In Toy Story 3, the scene when Andy looks back at Woody, Buzz, and the rest of his toys before leaving was inspired by director Lee Unkrich, sharing a similar moment with his dying grandmother. Lee explained, "I went back to visit her, and there was a moment during that visit that I had to say goodbye, and I knew I'd never be seeing her again. I looked at her and knew that I was looking at her for the last time, taking that in before I turned away and left. Of course, that's something that will stay with me for the rest of my life." A major part of the initial pitch for Big Hero 6 involved Tadashi heartbreaking deaths, so out of the other storylines and moments were actually built around that emotional core. Director Chris Williams explains there was something in that emotional through line that presented main character losing his older brother and being left with his older brother's creation. That moved us. Last 3.5 years was really about building a movie around that emotional core. And Up, during Ellie and Carl's married life montage, the studio originally asked the creator to cut the moment where Ellie learns she can't have children, saying it was going too far for a children's movie. Director Pete Docter said there was a version where they cut the moment, but they quickly realized how crucial it was. He explained, "You didn't feel as deeply without the scene, not only just with that sequence, but through the whole film. Most of the emotional stuff is not just to push on people and make them cry, but it's for some greater reason to really make you care about the story." Also, while the montage is silent in the final version, the original script included dialogue. It had Ellie and Carl finishing each other's sentences and other pieces of dialogue to show how in sync they were. Pete Docter elaborated, saying, "As we went into the storyboard, Ronnie Del Carmen, who was our head of story, took on that sequence at the beginning and said this would be really great if it was silent." It took Disney effect animator nearly a year to create the moment in The Little Mermaid when Prince Eric almost dies in the storm. After all of that work, the scene only lasted 2 minutes in the complete film. The animators wanted the audience to feel like they were in the storm with Eric as he struggled to survive. Lilo and Stitch was considered a gusty movie because it included tough storylines and wasn't based on a fairy tale, so Disney gave the creators a smaller budget, smaller crew, and less time to make it. Basically, if the movie failed, there wasn't a lot invested in it. Some of the storylines that were considered big risks at the time were Lilo and Nana's parents dying in a realistic way, Stitch's PTSD, single parenthood adoption, being an outsider, identity, and many more. Originally, Bing Bong's final scene in Inside Out was much longer and included more dialogue as Bing Bong realized he has to stay behind so Joy can survive. Richard Kind, who voiced Bing Bong, said when he finally extended his hand and says, "I've got a good feeling about this," you had seen a lot more of him during that original scene, so that when they're trying to get back, you understand what he's going through. You see him get a little desperate. It was a lot sadder. Also, Caitlin Diaz, who voiced Riley, would picture her cat dying in order to get herself to cry during Riley's saddest moments. In fact, the crying wasn't added in later. Caitlin was able to cry on command in the recording booth. Caitlin said, "Not only was I crying to make it sound realistic, my mom was crying because she could hear." Hey Kelly, good morning. Thanks for coming in. One of the inspirations behind Remember Me and Coco was Yesterday by the Beatles. Songwriters Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez tried to give Remember Me the same feeling. Robert Lopez explained, "Tried to give it that feeling and remembering that the Hector was signing it not to draw attention to himself, but to give something to his daughter and to show his love for his family." Also, the line in Remember Me about singing a secret song was inspired by the song Kristen and Robert sing their children that only they know. Kristen continued saying that the most personal for me anyway, that my own children and I have these songs that we know that are just for us, that I sing only for them, and that they can sing to themselves. Originally, we were going to learn about Marlin and Nemo's tragic backstory and finding Nemo with a series of flashbacks throughout the film. The moment with the Barracuda would have been intercut with Marlin seeing Nemo in the fishing net and fearing that he's lost him forever. And onward, when Ian plays a cassette tape featuring his dad, it's based on creator Dan Scanlon being gifted a tape of his own dad saying hi and goodbye. Dan, whose dad died when he was around 1 year old, grew up with just his mother and older brother. When he was 16 years old, He was gifted the tape with his dad's voice. He explained, I felt, oh, I can tell he's shy and nervous when he says the hi. Then I can tell he's a little awkward when he says goodbye. Oh, he's my brother and I. Also, Dan based Onward on his relationship with his brother, and he also always knew that he wanted it to end with Ian not reuniting with Wilden, but realized that Barley was a perfect father figure. Dan revealed that he kept his own brother in the dark about Onward except for a few details until he showed him the complete film. Tarzan originally only showed the treehouse in ruin and not the leopard stalking Tarzan's parents. Early audiences were confused by what happened, so the creators added in all of the gruesome details. Director Kevin Lima explained the decision to add the sad moment in, saying there's a yin and yang to these pictures that is good. When these awful things happen, you can feel the joy later in the film at all the more. It's a savage world out there, even when you walk out your front door and out on the street, and kids realize that. And finally, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen wept together when they watched the scene in Toy Story 2 when Jessie is loved, forgotten, and ultimately donated by her owner. Tom recalled watching the moment for the first time, saying, I was in tears and we were looking at each other going, that's some powerful stuff. To me, reduced to that and to level emotions like that on a cartoon about talking toys and their adventures, it's profound. There's no other words for it. Yeah, that's what it was. This was basically it was from BuzzFeed, and it was talking about those 20 Disney moments and how to make them more memorable. So they were all basically sad scenes, Kelly. So that's gonna be the last story for the day. I can go over some things that we went over earlier. As of today, you can start purchasing tickets again to Walt Disney World and make resort reservations. Another thing is that the Gators are not allowed at Walt Disney World. They have to have ear loops or ties. So I'm wondering, the one question was the Gators with the ear loops? I'm gonna say I would figure that'd be all right if they want if they're talking about mask with the ear loops. So I can't see that not being. Also, we went over the new commercial and showed that from Disney reopening, and we also looked at the Fox 35 article where my daughter Heaven was a picture of her and them showing the new safety guidelines at Walt Disney World. But as for that, I'm going to talk a little bit about what's coming up. So today I have a video coming out at 3 o'clock. It's one of my reaction videos, and it's a reaction to a ride. I'm not going to tell you what the ride is, but when I actually reacted to this, I became so jealous that we don't have that ride here in the United States. It was a great ride. The characters were great, and I was really, really upset at this ride. It was an amazing ride. I hope you remember to watch it at 3 o'clock. It's one of the best reaction videos I think I've done yet. But that 3 o'clock is when that'll come out. My new reaction video. Then at 5 o'clock, I'm on Disney Nuts with Gonzo and Dan, where I guess I'm the guest. So, but remember to watch that. And then, of course, right after that is Disney Friends with Gonzo and myself. The Disney Nuts, I believe, is on Disney Dan's channel, and then Disney Friends is on Gonzo's channel. So, yeah, that's what's going on. But I think that's going to do it for today. I hope you're all having a good morning, and I hope you have a good day. And remember to go out there go out there and there's a lot of people live streaming from the parks today. So you could be watching that. Also, I'm pretty sure Dole Whip Dad's coming on here in about just a little under 10 minutes. I don't know what his subject is, but yeah, make sure you go in, give him a like. But as for that, I think that's gonna do it. And I hope to see you tomorrow on the Good Morning Show. Thank you for coming in. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Myers and Miles, for coming in. Thank you to anybody else who may have been watching. And I hope to see you tomorrow. And